Hello, students. Today we will take up the sixth poem from your Flamingo textbook. The title of the poem is Aunt Jennifer's Tigers. This poem has been written by Adrienne Rich. Adrienne C. Rich was born in Baltimore, Maryland, USA on March 16, 1929, and she passed away on March 27, 2012. She is widely known for her involvement in contemporary women's movement as a poet and theorist. She has published 19 volumes of poetry, 3 collections of essays, and other writings. A strong resistance to racism and militarism echoes through her work. The poem Aunt Jennifer's Tigers addresses the constraints of married life a woman experiences. Now, before reading the poem, I'll give you a quick introduction of the poem. The poem Aunt Jennifer's Tigers addresses the constraints of married life that a woman experiences. The protagonist of the poem, Aunt Jennifer, represents women all over the world, particularly the women in America during 1950s. She represents the kind of women who were caught under the oppressive hand and a patriarchal society. The simple lines of the poem describe a woman's struggle with expression and rebellion. Let's first read the entire poem at once. Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen, bright topaz denizens of a world of green. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek, chivalric certainty. Aunt Jennifer's fingers, fluttering through her wool, find even the ivory needle hard to pull. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. When Aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie, still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. So, in the first 4 lines, I'll reread those 4 lines. Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen, prized topaz denizens of a world of green. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek, chivalric certainty. So here the poet says that Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance. They leap and they move across a screen or a panel wherein Aunt Jennifer might be weaving these tigers. Now the poet further describes these tigers as bright colored like shining golden yellow jewel topaz. Okay, topaz is a yellow colored jewel. So the tigers are as bright as the jewel topaz. The poet says that these tigers are bright yellow in color and these tigers are free inhabitants of the green forests. And moreover, they are not scared of the men standing under the tree. So they are not scared of anybody, not even men. So these tigers pace and move about with grace, with elegance and confidence without fearing anyone. See, Aunt Jennifer's tigers are not real or living tigers. They are just the images that are being created and weaved by Aunt Jennifer on her tapestry. Okay, she's weaving these tigers. And Aunt Jennifer, who is held captive by the oppressive hands of a patriarchal society, She creates these tigers in her art, in her work, which is an alternate world of freedom which she dreams of. Okay, through her tigers, she is creating this alternate world of freedom for herself. Now, the tigers which are being weaved by her, they represent her dreams, her desires to be free from the constraints of the marriage that she is into. Of it is her desire to be free from the constant fear, the constant oppression that rules her life. Okay. Moreover, these majestic and fearless tigers also present a sharp contrast to Aunt Jennifer herself, who is very much bound, who is oppressed again by the constraints of her married life. Aunt Jennifer, who is not able to exercise her own rights, who is not able to live her life freely and happily, she's trying to display all her emotions through these tigers that she is weaving over here in the panel. Okay, okay. Let's read further. Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool find even the ivory needle hard to pull. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. Now, in these four lines, in this stanza, the poet says that Aunt Jennifer appears to be creating beautiful images of the tigers by using wool. But even here, she finds it quite hard. She finds it quite difficult to pull even the ivory needle, which is very light weighted. And it's told by the poet that her fingers are fluttering. The fingers of Aunt Jennifer are shaking. Why? Because she's so terrorized and tortured that she's unable to carry even the weight of that soft, light weighted wool and the ivory needle. Then the poet further says that Uncle's wedding band seems heavy on her hand. Now, wedding band would be the wedding ring that she is wearing, and because of that wedding band, she feels burdened with her marital responsibilities and duties that she is expected to fulfill, like each and every married woman in the current time as well. So, through this stanza, the poet wants to convey to us the fact that a woman throughout her lifetime works to glorify the tiger that is her husband, or the males we can say, but she feels so much more overpowered and subdued that the bond between her and her husband or the other men present in the house, that relationship becomes a burden on her. And this is also the reality of Aunt Jennifer's life. She's also overburdened with the restrictions that are put on her after she was married. So Aunt Jennifer also feels broken. She also feels suppressed, and she also feels enslaved in her married life. So she's not able to enjoy her freedom the way she wants to live. She is not able to do that. Therefore, this uncle's band, the marriage ring that she is carrying in her finger, that is a burden for her. Okay. Further, let us read the final stanza. When aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie, still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. So, in this final stanza, the poet reveals a very sad truth. The poet says that even death will not be able to release and separate Aunt Jennifer from the trauma she had to undergo during her lifetime. Okay, even death will not provide her that solace, that peace. So even after Aunt Jennifer's death, the male dominated society seems to show no concern for her sufferings and, of course, about her death. So, here, ringed with audience, please write this if you can. So, ringed with audience here refers to the wedding band. A ring here symbolizes handcuff, which again enslaves Aunt Jennifer all her life and makes her frightened and a very scared soul, we can say. Okay. Um, Also, however, these tigers created by her, it is told by the poet that the tigers which she has created on her panel, the tigers which she has weaved on her panel, these tigers will be eternal. They'll always be proud, they'll always be unafraid, unlike Aunt Jennifer. Okay, now perhaps the poet wants to say that the women themselves are creating these tigers. We, the women, are letting men to rule over us. So they need to break these shackles and be unafraid like the tigers themselves. Until they work for their own betterment, they are not going to improve their condition in the society. Though the condition is way much better these days, but then still one has to, the women themselves have to work for their own betterment. Okay. One more thing that can be inferred from the poem is that Aunt Jennifer, who for long has carried the miseries she was subjected to, now she longs for freedom from all the dominance and male chauvinism that she has been facing and experiencing. Okay, so this is it about the explanation part of this poem. It was a very short and precise poem, and we will be discussing the poetic devices in the session itself. Also, so therefore, I request you all to just try to find out the poetic devices which have been used by the poet, as well as we would be discussing the extra questions and the NCRT questions given at the back exercise of this poem. So please reread the poem and listen to the tutorial carefully before we discuss all the details of the poem again. Thank you everyone.